Hey guys, I hope everybody's doing alright today. And what we are going to be doing is I'm going to be doing a series of videos for a specific reason. I don't want this to be like a couple hours long. I just want to do this in shorter, chunks. So what we are going to do is we are going to create a file server using Raspberry Pi. That's what this is. It's a little project board. It's about the size of a credit card or debit card if you prefer that. So, but we are going to be doing that, and this is just the introduction to the series, and it's not going to be overly long, so don't worry about that. But just a brief introduction is this up here is my cluster case for Raspberry Pi computers. It can hold 4. I've got 2 in there right now. I've got a file server in there for myself and for somebody else here. These are small, very useful. There's a couple of these up on the space station. And we are going to be going in and taking a look at this. So let's get in there. We'll be doing it from here. I've got this is my camera for it, and got a nice good studio mic of sorts that I'm going to be using, and it'll be done using this computer right here. So, and this is my computer workstation of sorts. It's not a data center, that's for sure, but it looks like it almost could be, sorta, not really, but little introduction. That up there is my router. It used to be a Linksys, and I don't have the Linksys firmware on there. I've got some custom firmware on there, and I've painted it, so it's kind of nice. Got my Raspberry Pi's here. This is the hardware, the thing itself. It was a Chromebook, but I wiped out the hard drive and I got rid of the Chrome OS and I put on Linux Mint XFCE. So it's a Linux machine. This is a Linux machine, and it's my daily driver. This is a Windows machine, and I don't do much on that because I maybe play games. But I hit a button, this happens. Come on. And then this is another machine. They're both down below, and I'm doing some custom work on it, cosmetically, to fit my design for the AnKorage. You can see all the green and the dark, black and the green. Yeah, that's kind of like my color scheme. But anyways, moving on. So we're going to create a file server. Like, I've got 2 in here. Although I do have 4 Raspberry Pis in there. 2 Pis are just kind of there. They're not doing anything. They're not hooked up or anything. But we are going to be moving to these. And just as a hint as to what the next portion of this video is going to be, is you need a case. You don't want one of these just sitting on your desk like this and wire sticking out all over it. You want something that kind of makes it look kind of nice. So you need a case. So here's the first one I ever bought. It's a Raspberry Pi 2, and I've got a case for it. I don't use it for anything anymore, but you're going to need a case to kind of cover it up, and I'll discuss that in a little bit. And you will also need, if I can get it to come out of here, you also need one of these, which is a micro SD card. And as far as the size goes, I recommend a 16 gigabyte unit, although you can do it with an 8, but I recommend a 16 because that's the general one that I like to use. So why don't we get this all set up, which will be that for you, but we'll get this all set up, and we'll look at some cases. Alright, so we are back, and the computer and my setup with my neat little microphone here. So I'm just going to pull that down just a little bit because I don't want to be in your face necessarily. So what we want to do, I haven't done this in OBS in quite a while, so please bear with me. So the first case that we're going to look at is going to be over on Etsy. So if you go over and you go to Etsy and we go into this one, here's this one. It's from C4 Labs, and I recommend theirs. They have very good cases. Now, they are a business, but they are on Etsy and they are on Amazon. But I was just able to find it easier on Etsy. So here's this one. And so when we look at it, if I can get out of that and get to this, what we have is, it's just a very simple case. It's the same one that I use for my Raspberry Pi 2 that I bought originally. And this is just if you want a simple case. It's the C4 Labs Zebra case for Raspberry Pi. And you can find them. And this one here is $20 roughly. And so that one there is actually very, it's very usable. So we are going to switch over to something else, kind of show you a little variety. And there we go. Now, if you want something where you want to help with the cooling of the unit, I would recommend this one here. It has a little fan that's popped into the top there, and it uses a couple of the GPIO pins on the side. That's the long bunch of pins on the side of the Raspberry Pi. And this is just a representation of it. Let me see if I can get the different pictures here. You can see what the fan itself looks like. That's how it looks like when you have it installed. And there's the one, there's one that you got sticking on the top. But there's the actual look of what it looks like. And you can kind of sort of see the screws a little bit, but that's all happy and such. But the main point here is that this will actually blow air onto the Pi and help cool it so that it doesn't run overly hot. And I just recommend it because it's good to have airflow over electronic components and try to help the temperatures a little bit. It's not a huge difference, but it might in the long run. So that's what my recommendation is. In regards to those pins over on the side, you want pin number 1 and pin number 6. Pin number 1 would be where the red wire goes, because that is the 1.5 volt pin, and your ground, being the black wire, that would go on pin number 6. So we're going to look at another one here. Let me see if I can find it. There it is. This is, they call this one the Pi squared case. This is the taller version of it, and it's it's got a frosted top. So if that's your design. And you'll notice the gold trim around the edge of that. And I like that just because I've got a clock here where I've actually got that kind of a border. It's kind of neat. So there is a short version and there is a tall version. This is the tall version. Here's a picture of the shorter version, and it has the clear top, and you can kind of see the Raspberry Pi inside. Now here's a shot inside the small version, so you can actually see how the Pi is sitting inside of it, and you can see a black elbow of sorts. That's for your video, and and it's convenient. And here's a shot of it without the sides and such like that. So you can get it with the frosted top if you don't like to see electronic components. And here's a shot with the clear top, and it's the shorter one, and that's the taller one. So that's what we've got going on for there. Now with the purchase of your Pi and your setup and your case, is you're going to need a power supply for it. Now it takes a micro USB plug, and here's one from Amazon that I recommend actually getting. It's got your your power plug over on the left there on that picture, and it's got a switch so that you can power it on and off without unplugging it and plugging it back in all the time. So, and then over on the right, you can see there's a micro USB, and there's a USB 3 adapter on it, which you don't need. You don't need that adapter, but either way, I recommend this actual unit, because I actually use this unit on a Raspberry Pi 3 B Plus that I use for my Kodi server, which is underneath my TV, and that's where I've got all of my electronic copies of videos and home movies and things of that sort. So this is from Amazon, and it's right up there. It's the North Pata Raspberry Pi 3 Model B power supply charger, AC adapter, cord, 5-volt capability, things of that sort. So this is the one that I recommend. So I recommend you get that, and it's currently got a 10% off right now, but it's very inexpensive. It's $11 right now, or just shy of $11, and otherwise it's like 10% from that, so it'd be like $11, $12 maybe. So that's what I recommend for the power supply. On the video side, you're gonna need to see what is going on with it, whether you want to have a dedicated monitor for it, or at least just to start it up, and you want to, if you want to run it headless, you won't need this, but you do need it at the start of it. Now, headless means without a monitor, but for and the file server can run headless or without a monitor, but for the initial setup, you do need a monitor so that you can do your initial setup of your Raspberry Pi software, which will be the Raspberry Pi operating system, or Raspberry Pi OS as they call it. So my recommendation is that you get yourself an HDMI cable, and if you don't already have one, if you do, go ahead and use it. If not, I recommend this one right here. It's an Amazon Basics. It's 6 feet long. You don't want the 3 feet, because that's just going to cause length issues and things like being like, it's not long enough, I need another 5 inches. But I recommend the 6-footer, so that you get plenty of length to work with. And this one here is by Amazon Basics, and it's very inexpensive, very cost effective, and this one only costs less than $7. Yeah, 18 cents less, but still less than $7. So I recommend getting this. And you think you might be all done on getting everything you need for your Raspberry Pi setup. Now you got one thing left, and that's the micro SD card. So what we want to be doing is we want to get that, and that's going to be where you put your operating system and all of the software at that point in order to get it up and running. So what we want to do is we want a micro SD card, and this is the one that we want to get right here. This is from you get it from Amazon. It's very simple, and it's less than $10. It's like 8 and some change, and it's a SanDisk 16 gigabyte, and it's super inexpensive, and it is available through Prime. If you happen to be a Prime member, fantastic. This is the one that you want to go for. You don't want to get anything less. And that's just my personal opinion. You can do it with an 8 gigabyte if you just want to save that much money, if you happen to, and also if you happen to find one, which I haven't looked, but I imagine you can. But the 16 gigabyte is basically one of the lowest sizes that you can get right now, and for what we're going to do, it is far more than needed. But it's excellent to work with, and it's very inexpensive, and but you need to get that. If you don't have one already sitting around, then I recommend you get this one here. So there is all of the hardware that you're going to need in order to put together the hardware side of it for the file server, or for your Raspberry Pi setup. And the good thing is that, let's say at the end of it all, you don't want to do anything with the file server, it as a file server, but you want to use it for other projects. You're all set as far as hardware goes. You've got your case, you've got your Raspberry, you've got your power supply, you've got your video cable, you've got the micro SD. You know, you've got everything you need for it. So, that this setup basically sets you up for the future. Now you'll notice that the cases that I picked, they're basically wood. Well, that's my style. You know, I like to use natural things. You know, not completely 100% plastic. You know, but stuff like metal. But I'm really into the wood because wood's natural, and you know, kind of goes along with the theme of everything. It's like a lot of the design of my house or household is, you know, the mid-century modern natural wood look, and also the design of the mid-century modern, the contemporary stuff. I grew up with it, and it just grows on me, and it's just, you know, the way I've got things. I need to find a couple of end tables from those days, but we'll do that later. Anyways, but this was the first video of the series, and we focused on just putting together all of the hardware that's going to be needed for it. So in future videos, particularly the next one, is going to be regarding the operating system, which is the Raspberry Pi OS, and just getting it set up. You know, it's going out, downloading it, installing it onto the SD card, and firing it up in the Raspberry Pi and performing the initial setups, so that at that point you can go headless. So you won't need the monitor after this that part's done, because we're going to be doing it from another computer through your network, using what's called SSH, which is secure shell, and it's straight command line, because everything we do after the setup of the operating system is all command line stuff. And don't worry about it so much. I mean, it's fairly easy. It's all basically copy and paste, with a couple of slight edits here and there, but nothing severe. It's all very simple, very basic. So, and I'll talk you through it. I'll try to translate some things, because I mean, I don't know everything regarding Linux, but I understand what's going on for the most part, and other things just kind of like okay, I'm gonna do it, and it works. So, and I know just how to do things to screw it up as well, which I came across when I first had the two that are up here. On the one I used for myself, I did a couple of different things, and it wouldn't work, at least not that well, not as it was intended. So come on back, and we will pick it up at that point, doing some more stuff, and we're gonna work on the operating system in the next video. So thank you for watching. I appreciate you being here, and we will talk to you in the next one. So, Skál.